we should not be talking about like what Ukraine is willing to give up. We should be talking about how do we ensure that Russia would not attack us again. And this is the key point that we should be like starting discussing, and then Ukraine may be considering this and that. And right now we didn't hear that. We have heard that Donald Trump tried to put this responsibility onto Europe. We didn't hear Europe taking this responsibility and saying, okay, there will be boots on the ground. This is how they will be working. And this is the amounts that we are putting. So right now it's only the question that you are putting us up to the wall and saying, are you ready to give up Crimea? No, we are not ready to give up Crimea. We were never ready. We are a sovereign state that was brutally attacked by another state that just has the nuclear weapons. What we are trying to do right now is to fight for our life, our future, and our existence.
Donald Trump is going to be, or his team is going to be meeting a team from Vladimir Putin, and they're going to be talking about peace in Ukraine. It's going to happen immediately. Now, did that come completely as news to you? And do you feel as if maybe you're being bypassed here?
You know, John, today, the first news that we heard from Donald Trump is that at his call with Putin, he declared that he wants peace. And I want to tell you how we spent our night tonight. So we spent it entire time at the bomb shelter because there were at least 6 ballistic missiles going on to Kiev, and we had to take them down using 10 Patriot missile systems. It cost $30 million today, just this night. And I'm telling you this because there is a huge difference between some statements that we hear politicians and world leaders make, such as someone wants peace, and the actions, and the actions are very clear. So we understand that we should not only be reading into what we heard after the call from Putin and Donald Trump and President Zelensky, but also what the Minister of Defense, the head of Pentagon, Peter Hegseth, said today at the Ramstein meeting.
Yes.
Where he gave us some details. He was very clear that it's Europe's responsibility to ensure security for Ukraine, that the United States will never have boots on the ground. However, they are expecting that there could be other countries' boots on the ground in Ukraine to assure the security and basically to provide those security guarantees.
Yes.
So all of that should not come as news to us, right?
Right.
Everything we have discussed and we have talked about, it is all coming to life right now. And the question is Europe ready? Like, are we getting the security guarantees that we need to be able to continue our survival as a state from Europe? And we do not know yet.
Yes.
That's basically, to sum up all the talks, discussions, negotiations. The United States are being very clear that they anticipate that because the war is in the European continent, that the European states will take better responsibility on that. And this is why I mentioned the price that took us one of the cities in Ukraine to survive just one night.
Yeah.
$30 million. Like, are European countries ready for these kinds of the expenses? And like, is the world like ready that this is the cost of the defense? And I do not have a good answer just yet. I think many world leaders tonight will have like a hard, long thought before they will go to bed.
Yeah, and the question that all of us, and I guess now including you, are going to be asking is, what does Donald Trump have in mind? What will his team bring to the table when they sit down, apparently immediately, with a team from the Russian side, a process which, well, you seem not to have been very closely involved in. Now, we do see a statement now from Donald Trump. He's released this one on Truth Social, and he says that he's been talking to President Zelensky of Ukraine. No great detail. He says that Zelensky wants peace, discuss topics, again, general stuff, and he says that at the end of the week, his Vice President, J.D. Vance, and Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, will be leading what goes on at the security conference in Munich. He says, I hope the result of that meeting will be positive. Does that mean we'll have a Ukraine plan at the end of that? At the moment, we have no clear idea what that might be. We did hear, as you say, from the American Defense Secretary earlier on, speaking in very plain terms, and he was telling us, look, whatever comes out from America's point of view, it would mean Ukraine, your country, giving up on any hope of regaining Crimea, that Crimea region. That occupation goes back to 2014. It means giving up on the Donbass, another part of the area being fought over now. And if there was a freezing in the lines of conflict, it would be Europeans, as you say there. You want to see the Europeans put up on all of that. What about those terms, though, Kira? Have you, in your mind, given up on Crimea? Have you given up on that Ukrainian territory in the Donbass region? Do you think that's an acceptable price to pay at this point?
Well, John, as we discussed with you many times, we are right now only hearing that, oh, Ukraine has to give up this and that, and then it will be peace. But for us, these discussions are not new. This is something that we have heard since 2014, when everybody was saying the same. You have to give up on Crimea, you have to give up on Eastern territories, and then there will be peace. And first of all, we already had those agreements with Russia. It was not honored at any single day. And it got us to 2024 when Russia started full-scale invasion.
Yeah.
So we should not be talking about what Ukraine is willing to give up. We should be talking about how do we ensure that Russia would not attack us again. And this is the key point that we should be starting discussing, and then Ukraine may be considering this and that. And right now we didn't hear that. We have heard that Donald Trump tried to put this responsibility onto Europe. We didn't hear Europe taking this responsibility and saying, okay, there will be boots on the ground. This is how they will be working, and this is the amounts that we are putting. So right now it's only the question that you are putting us up to the wall and saying, are you ready to give up Crimea? No, we are not ready to give up Crimea. We were never ready. We are a sovereign state that was brutally attacked by another state that just has the nuclear weapons. What we are trying to do right now is to fight for our life, our future, and our existence. And we are saying that we need the guarantees that for us tomorrow will come. And this is what we are discussing. That this is the main question that we did not hear the answer to. The things that we are hearing is you will have to give up this, and that. And my question to you, John, is, and then what?
Yeah. Kira, I mean, you speak with great passion, and believe me, we understand, the passion you're feeling at this moment. Here with me is Mikey Smith and Kate Ferguson. I think we've got a question or two for you. Mikey.
Hi. I was just going to ask you, it sounds like JD Vance and Pete Hegseth are going to talk to Vladimir Zelensky later this week at Munich Security Conference. Can you foresee a time where your president and Vladimir Putin and maybe Donald Trump get into a room and talk across a table?
Our president has already said that he will be willing to do that if that will be a path to the peace. But however, again, there should be something really valid to discuss, not just to have it as a sign of President Putin prevailing and pressuring Ukraine into any kind of a peace deal. What we are talking about again and again is how do we make sure that Russia would not attack us again? This night there were 6 ballistic missiles coming onto Kiev. How are we guaranteed that the next night there will be not 6 ballistic missiles and the night after that? Nobody has this answer just yet. Everybody's talking about what Ukraine should give up.
Okay, Ferguson.
This sounds like quite a blunt question. Do you think you can carry on fighting this war if America pull the plug on their military aid?
It will be very hard. It will be hard and almost impossible, but we will try, because I want to remind everyone that early in 2022, when the full-scale invasion started, there was no American support. The European support was minimal. And for the first couple of weeks, we were by ourselves pretty much, when we were fighting, counting only on ourselves. It's very hard right now for Ukrainian people. It's incredibly hard for us knowing that we may be without our allies' support. But as of right now, 80% of Ukrainian families have either their members fighting at the front line or have lost someone. We have already paid the price, and we have already so much skin in the game to continue fighting. I cannot begin to tell you what it feels here on the ground when we are constantly being attacked, we are constantly defending ourselves, and everything that we have gone through and how we have showed ourselves was not enough for the world to stop Russia.
Kira, as always, really a pleasure, if that's the word, but it's good to have you on the programme, and thank you for your perspective. Kira Rudik there, Ukrainian MP. I'm guessing, Kira, we may well be speaking again before too very long. So Mikey Smith and Kate Ferguson here with me, listening to that. We're watching what's going on at the White House news conference. We've been absorbing what happened in Brussels at the defence meeting, the meeting of defence ministers and senior defence chiefs, and, of course, those messages from Donald Trump. Just in the last hour or so. I know the story just keeps on going moment by moment in real time, Mikey.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing, I think, from this sort of readout of calls is that Zelensky hasn't immediately agreed to come to Washington. This is... it's very... The meeting, if I remember correctly, the meeting with J.D. Vance was already in the diary. That's not a new thing. They were already going to be talking in Munich. So I think that signals to me there's a little bit of reluctance, understandably, from Ukraine to engage with this in the way it's been presented to them.
Casey?
I imagine behind the scenes, Zelensky is furious that this has happened in a phone call with Putin before he's even been informed, and so publicly. The reality is that the Americans, not Trump, but the Americans, Ukrainians and Europe are going to be at this Munich security conference at the end of the week. We've already seen bits of this leaked so-called Ukraine peace plan, but here we have it on record, Trump saying, I want to stop this war, laying his cards down, being pretty frank about not wanting any more American involvement, and his man over in NATO saying, if Europe wants to police this war, then Britain and France need to put troops on the ground. So I think by the end of the week, into the weekend, we should have a clearer idea of exactly what Trump envisages, what the timelines are, and Europe's initial response to whether or not we can do what he wants us to do.
Yeah,
I mean, reality. I do just think the reality is that without that American backing, I don't see how this war can continue.
Well, Zelensky himself said in an interview in the Guardian, reported this morning that you can't defend Ukraine without the support of America, at least through the supply of weapons, the kind of support that America has been giving up to now. It has been the biggest supplier of support to Ukraine.
Exactly. Sorry, and I was just going to say as well, Europe's not in good shape. I mean, we've got a big majority government here, but we're broke. They're talking about spending cuts. There's a big row about whether or not we'll even hit our defence spending targets. Macron's about to go. Germany's in crisis. You don't really have a clear leader in Europe with a healthy bank account now.
Another thing I was going to pick up on, a detail, but I think an interesting one. The guy who Trump sent to Russia to negotiate the release of the prisoner yesterday, and presumably big chunks of this, is a guy called Steve Witkoff. Not a household name, but you may remember that he was also Trump's envoy in Gaza who helped to negotiate the ceasefire. So, big month for him.